Welcome to All Things Moore County, Moore County's weekly radio show highlighting the many facets of the Sandhills. That includes real estate, lifestyle, community, and neighborhoods. And now, from 4 Properties, here's your host, Bill Sahadi.
Good morning and welcome to the talk show, All Things Moore County. Dorothy, we are, about a week or so ago, we went through Groundhog's Day.
Yes, we did.
And we now know that we're going to have an early spring.
We can only hope.
And in addition to the U.S. Open, which will be here in June, by the way, we're going to have a show with the USGA.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, in a couple of weeks to give us a lot of specifics. So they're going to cover the month of June.
Okay.
My guests today are going to cover the month of May.
Are they?
Yes. And there's a story behind it. Laura Faenza, who is to my left, and Will Oliver live in the Atlanta area. They have decided to select Pinehurst as their site for a destination wedding.
Okay.
Just a couple of weeks ago, Zillow came out with a report that termed Pinehurst the most popular retirement town, edging out Hilton Head. Did you know that?
I had no idea.
Yep. And so we are bombarded by retirees, but we're also
I can believe that.
But we're also bombarded by younger families. And Laura, in particular, has a story to tell, and I'm going to start it, Laura, and then I'm going to have you fill it in. So Laura is my goddaughter. Her father has been a lifelong friend of mine for, I figured it out, 45 years. And I lived in Atlanta when Laura was born. And moved away in 1999 when you were the ripe old age of 4. But a funny thing happened along the way. Your father and mom decided to move out of Atlanta, and you moved here during your 4th grade through 7th grade years.
Yep.
And then you moved back to Atlanta.
Yes, summer going into 8th grade.
But what happened? Pinehurst had left a very good impression on you, didn't it?
It did. They were really special years spent here. And, when I think about it, I was 9 years old when we moved here. I didn't really, understand why. I knew we were moving. I knew the for sale sign was in the front yard.
Oh, you didn't understand why? Mom and Dad didn't tell you?
Not really. I think I was so young.
Yeah.
And I was sad to leave my home and my friends, but I was also excited for a new adventure.
And you formed a bunch of relationships here that at that young age that today many of those people that you had formed relationships with are on your wedding list coming up, invitation list.
Yes.
Will, Laura's mom and dad bought a home at what was then called the National Golf Club. Today it's Pinehurst number 9. And the home was on right off the 7th green. And at that time, we would play golf. I would play with her father and a couple of other guys. And almost every time we would get to the 7th green, who would run out of the house to greet us? Laura. Yep. She was about this high. She grew up with golf. It just seemed like that was just what people did. And we would all come over and speak to her. And, of course, she would tug on her dad and basically tell him what she needed or what was going on or how she was feeling.
Nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed, right? When you were first here, the year you came here, we actually had a party. You don't remember it. For my mother in 2006. And so I had a lot of people come to Mid-Pines, excuse my voice, and you were the only child there. And I know you don't remember it, but my mother remembered you. And the funny thing about it was we did not know that she would 6 months later be diagnosed with stage 4. So the timing was prophetic, the way it worked out. and we had some pictures of you, which we kept, which is on my screensaver. So tell me about, where'd you go to school while you were here? Tell me about a little bit about your experience here.
So I started 4th grade at the O'Neill School.
Right.
And was there for 4th and 5th grade. It was around that time that my dad had decided he didn't want to live here anymore, and he missed Atlanta.
Right.
Who thought that was going to happen?
So here's what happened. Bob decided he wanted to raise Laura in an area that was more countrified, more pastoral than Atlanta, and he wanted her to grow up in a community, in a neighborhood like Pinehurst. And you took to it like a duck to water, as I recall, right? But he got itchy, and he missed a lot of the things about Atlanta. And when you went back, he told me the story last night at dinner, how you got into Marist. Mm-hmm. Where you finished your high school years? Yeah,
so at the end of 5th grade, they decided to move me over to West Pine Middle School for 6th grade, thinking that at some point, we were going to sell our house and move back to Atlanta in the middle of the year.
Right.
And that was around the time that Marist applications opened up. It's a junior prep type of layout where it starts in the 7th grade and ends at the 12th grade. So applications come out, fall, winter. We're like filling them out, going back and forth to Atlanta for interviews, the SSAT, everything in between, and you get your acceptance letter in the spring.
Right.
And I didn't have the best of grades, and we didn't think I was going to get in, but sure enough, I did.
Yes.
And that was for the 7th grade, and it became this question of, what do we do? We have this house here. It was just after the stock market had crashed, and
right.
No one was buying houses. We didn't know how we were going to make the move work, and we ended up staying here for the 7th grade, waiting for the house to sell.
Right.
So I moved back to O'Neill for 7th grade. Okay. Yeah.
And you made a lot of friends at both schools while you were here.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Will, have you, you're an avid golfer, and I've seen some videos of your golf swing, and they're intimidating. And you've played a lot of golf in a lot of different areas, but you're originally from Florida?
Yes, from Gainesville.
Had you ever been to Pinehurst before?
I had not, and I think I might be the first golfer that has come to Pinehurst their first 2 times and not even brought golf clubs. So that is not something I'm proud of, but unfortunately has taken place.
So your wedding, which is going to be on May the 4th, is a destination wedding because a lot of your friends are coming from different parts of the country. And you guys have put together a website that is... I know people put websites together for weddings, but this website is exceptional.
By saying we've put it together is a little stretch. She has definitely done everything I have watched.
Well, you will know. It serves as a marketing vehicle for this area because a lot of the people that are coming have not been to Pinehurst before.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, most.
You were looking at Pinehurst. You were looking at... Point Judith in Rhode Island. Mm-hmm. You were looking at a lot of different areas. Why first did you both decide to have a destination wedding?
I think for me, growing up, going to Rhode Island, spending the summers there, my dad being from there, that was always where I wanted to get married. I had never once thought of getting married in Atlanta. And so when the time came and Rhode Island ultimately didn't work out, and, for the better, now, I think it just never crossed my mind to do Atlanta. When I'm in Atlanta, I'm in my groove. I'm working. I'm doing 100 things. I'm busy, and I just thought a destination would allow me to relax a little more.
Right, and get out of, right, I understand
Just
that.
get out of the day-to-day. Like, I was like, I don't want to wake up in my house and then go get married and then go back to my house. Like, I want to be somewhere.
Right.
I want the full effect of
Right.
the whole destination.
You guys did not meet in college. You met after college?
We did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me the story.
Yeah, so at the time I was back in Gainesville. COVID was happening. Everybody's kind of at home, locked down, and at the time was looking to get a job. And my sister was up in Atlanta, and I was basically between Atlanta and Jacksonville. My sister's friend got me a job at a software sales role, and when I decided I was moving up, one of my long best friends from Atlanta, we happened to move in together, who at the time, and well, for I guess 4 or 5 years, had been dating Laura's high school best friend and freshman roommate at Alabama.
Yeah.
And so while we were there, they had gone out to dinner one night, and they were like, oh, you should come back and meet Jason's roommate, blah, 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 talking about me, but more predominantly brought up the fact that I was dog sitting my sister's puppy pug, and as Laura, an avid pug lover, it was very much she heard pug and said yes, and I was a very afterthought at that point.
Okay, they were talking you up too, though.
I'm sure
like,
they tried,
"He
but
can
nothing was
cook."
going to top the pug. So
That's why at dinner last night you said to me, oh, I should get a pug. So you are very partial to pugs.
Yes.
incredibly.
I did not know that.
Very much, yes.
Okay. So now that you've been here a couple of times, kind of scoping the area out, what are your impressions of Pinehurst, Southern Pines, the whole southern Moore County area?
It's great. I mean, I do love Atlanta, but growing up, Gainesville is, I mean, with UF, there's a little bit more going on. But
University of Florida.
University of Florida, the pace of life is much slower than Atlanta, and
Right.
this kind of reminisces back to childhood where it's just a slower pace, more relaxed pace. Parents grew up in some very small towns in Kentucky, so going to their downtowns is definitely reminiscent of kind of going to Southern Pines and being able to walk the storefronts, and definitely enjoy that a lot.
Yeah.
And then kind of pairing that with the ability to have a similar experience in the downtown Pinehurst area, and I mean, having all the golf imaginable is definitely a cherry on top for me.
And you have not yet played the courses.
I haven't yet, and I'm still saying that, but
you will be during the wedding week.
I will hopefully be turning that into a mini golf trip. So that is the goal.
So you have golf games set up at Pine Needles, Mid Pines.
We have some reservations for our guests staying there that we'll try to play, and then we have talks. I know through our wedding, we'll have foursome at Pinehurst number 2 or number 4 that I need to get working on for booking, and trying to figure out what day we're gonna actually make that work.
Right.
And then from there, we'll probably try to look around for a few other courses. I know I have people flying in from Michigan that are coming in, I believe, on Tuesday, so they can play Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then we'll have some that come Friday and maybe just play once, but everything in between. So I'm going to try to jump on board with as many of those foursomes as I can.
We should have the Moore County Chamber of Commerce elevate you to the Hall of Fame for the marketing that you're doing for the area. I first came here in 1979. I was a couple of years out of college. When I woke up the first morning, I went over to Pine Needles, and I had breakfast with Bonnie McGowan, who you knew, and Sally Austin. And I remember playing golf that day at Pine Needles, and I thought to myself, boy, this would have been a great area to grow up in as a kid.
Oh, absolutely.
That's why your dad brought you here.
Yeah.
That is the number one reason why, because he was taken by the same small town feeling, and you have 2 sisters, Kate and Margaret, and the one thing about Bob was he was always looking after what was the best thing for his 3 girls, and you being the baby, and the other 2 kind of growing up, he had made that decision, and that's why you were brought here. And that's in many ways you're back here. You're paying homage to the foundation that he gave you.
Yeah.
Let's come back in the second set. I want to go through that website with you.
Yeah.
About the wedding. Your parents are here this week, and you're doing a lot of planning. It's a lot of work.
Yes.
But I do want to talk about some of the logistics. This is All Things Moore County. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the second set of All Things Moore County. We are speaking with Laura Faenza, soon to be Laura Oliver, and her fiancé Will. They're getting married on the 4th of May, and it is amazing to me in Moore County how many great facilities and wedding venues and choices that you have, because in the spring there are bridal shows, different establishments conduct tours and this and that. So you may have been caught off guard by all the choices that you had, Laura.
Mm-hmm. No, it was a lot, and they're all so wonderful.
Right.
So
she's going to be the mayor here someday. She's going to come back, just to let you know.
It's fine with me. I will move here in a heartbeat.
It was a hard decision, but I guess we kind of narrowed down Pinehurst the night that you and my dad called me. I think you were sitting at Lissy's. And having dinner, and we'd been searching for venues high and low all over the Southeast pretty much. And he just called and he said, what if you get married in Pinehurst?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, I haven't even thought about this yet. I don't know how or why, but I was looking for a special place, something with true sentiment and not just a venue, right? And he even said, you should do it in Bill's backyard.
Oh, my yard wouldn't be big enough for all your guests.
Well, we loved that idea, and it would have been amazing. But
what other venues in the Southeast were you considering? I wasn't aware.
We'd looked in Jacksonville at, say, Ponte Vedra Inn and Club.
Oh, yeah.
We were looking through Charleston, Hilton Head,
Amelia
Island. I think even some in 30A, a lot of the kind of coastal Southeast cities, your typical kind of venues there. Some in St. Augustine.
Cashers, North Carolina.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It just, nothing was sentimental.
So there's something very organic about the Pinehurst Southern Pines area. Mm-hmm. And for the very same reasons your dad moved you here from 4th to 7th grade, maybe those very same reasons tilted the decision today in your favor. It's like going back to yesteryear. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned living in Atlanta and, what an amped up community it is to live in.
Very.
Here, you don't get that, do you?
No, you can drive and not be cut off 25 times, and horns aren't blaring, and it's a nice, relaxing kind of peace of mind just being able to casually move through life, and there's very nice aspects. Granted, Atlanta has some nice features to it as well, but it's definitely nice to kind of take a breath and take a step out of that for a little bit.
Yeah. The website that you worked on is going to serve as a beautiful travelogue, a beautiful advertisement for the community. You featured a lot of restaurants, a lot of stores, the golf courses, the itinerary, because you're having an event that's going to last 3 or 4 days. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is not, we'll meet you after dinner and get married and see you the next day. We're off to the Caribbean.
Yeah.
You have a 4-day event, I think. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Yeah.
So give me the rundown.
So I think we'll kick things off that Thursday evening.
May the 2nd.
Yes. I know we're working on that with you.
Right.
do a little maybe North Carolina barbecue in your backyard. So we do get to use your backyard.
Okay. So it's a welcoming party.
Yeah, just for people who, we've got so many people from out of town and even traveling far, and all the golfers who want to get here early.
A lot have expressed that they are excited to make an actual trip out of this rather than not just showing up for the wedding, but we have, people from Michigan, California, kind of all over, and for some of those longer travelers, they've expressed, we want to come. All the husbands and some of the wives want to play golf, and they want to make a trip out of it and see it, and they've always heard about it, never really come. So they're here for longer than most will be, so we want to be able to offer them something in return for making that.
Well, we owe you a debt of gratitude because I love living here. I think it's a great area, and what you're going to be doing is introducing a lot of people to this area, and they may never have discovered Southern Moore County. So the second is your welcoming party.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Friday,
Third.
the 3rd, I know we'll have our official rehearsal for the wedding.
And where's that going to be?
Well, we'll do the rehearsal walkthrough, I guess.
Gotcha. Okay.
Probably at the Carolina Hotel.
Okay.
And then I'll have a bridal luncheon that day with all
On
my,
Friday the 3rd. Okay.
with just best friends, bridesmaids, family. And then that evening at the Weymouth Center, we will have our rehearsal dinner,
Right.
which will include, closest family and the bridal party.
Only
wedding
300-400 people.
Yeah.
At last count. Something
Feels like
that.
it. Yeah, we had to cut it down, right?
It's hard.
Weymouth Center is a very cool place, isn't it? Mm-hmm. The grounds are incredible. You've seen them.
Well, it's where we took our engagement photos there because of it. So nice being able to kind of tie that back in with the rehearsal.
Did I know that? Did I know that you took your engagement photos there?
I don't know.
We did. We did it the last time we were up here when we were kind of
Okay.
doing some site selection on rehearsal dinner venues and kind of bouncing around. And it was one she originally wanted to do the wedding there, and being able to kind of incorporate it, we figured out, well, we can just do the rehearsal there, tie it into the welcome party after the rehearsal dinner, and everybody can see that. You incorporate Southern Pines, because as great as Pinehurst is, we didn't want to exclude, because once we got to see Southern Pines, we're like, this is an area we'd love to get guests to, and you could excuse yourself from seeing that if you just do Pinehurst, because it's great, but you want to incorporate everything.
So picking the location was easy. Setting the date, not so much.
It was hard, especially in a time where we have so many friends getting married right now. We're kind of at that age, and it almost seems like once, one guy pops the question, it's a domino effect, and then they just all start happening. So it was, you're thinking about all the things. You don't want to be too close to someone's date, in the football season. And
so I made the mistake of saying to Laura, I said, October is a beautiful month in Pinehurst, Southern Pine, Moore County. It would be a great time to get married. She goes, I can't do that. I go, why can't you do that? The weather's great. The days are warm. The evenings are cool. Tell me the reason you couldn't do it.
because of football season.
Yeah, I might have had something to do with that. Deep roots in SEC football, and that was a time I've always just, every wedding we go to, it always ends up falling on a big game, and whether it's your team, not your team, you always see people on their phones have to set up a TV
Checking
for
the
people to
scores.
watch, and it's something I know she didn't want, and I've been guilty of it myself, so it was, in my mind, easiest just to exclude the possibility. And
you know who was one of the biggest offenders of that rule was your dad.
Yeah, I've seen him do it at
And
weddings.
you have seen, right.
Yeah.
And you learned, and you said, I am not going to have that, I'm not going down that path.
Well, and thank God, because the date that we had on like a hold at one point in time was September 28th.
Right.
Which was just announced that Alabama will be hosting UGA.
So she looked at the dates, and the next thing for the wedding, the next thing she did was she pulled up the football schedule to see what am I competing with.
Well, I think I did that, but yes.
You did
But
that?
it wasn't even out yet. It was like
we ran into
a
the issue
guesstimation.
of the only two set dates were in October, the third Saturday. Alabama plays Tennessee, and that's always Florida's bye weekend, and then Florida plays Georgia the next weekend. That's Alabama's bye weekend. So there was no way either of our family and friends would have been getting off on their team's biggest games of the year. So it was, all right, if we try to shoot for a different weekend we don't know the answer to, I just know Murphy's Law, it's going to be one of the big games, and we just, why not avoid it? And let's get the preparation for the Open, and everything's going to be at its tens. And
Nowhere like the Southeast is college football like a religion. Where I came from in the Northeast, it was an afterthought.
Yeah.
We didn't care that Alabama played Georgia or Florida played Georgia. We didn't know that there was a name for that game. It was just a football game. But when you're in the South, it's a completely different orientation.
Yeah. No, it's a little embarrassing, but it's a fact of life.
Let's come back in the third set. By the way, kudos to you on the website. It is. I almost want to post it because it will be a great advertisement for people who are moving to the area. They'll know exactly what to do, whether they're getting married or not.
All my favorites.
Will Oliver and Laura Faenza are going to be married on the 4th of May in Pinehurst, and we're going to talk about where you're getting married and the selection of the venue and why when we come back in the third set. Welcome back to our final set of All Things Moore County. For me, doing the show, Dorothy, we're in our 15th year.
Hard to believe.
Yeah, but there are a handful of shows that I will, I'll always recall and remember.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be one of them. Laura, that when you were born, I was with your dad. I think the night right after we had dinner, and here you are. To me, it's like coming full circle. You're returning home in a way, and our circle has closed a little bit, and that hasn't always been the case. But when you have a lifetime friend like your dad for 45 years, it meanders, it goes in different directions, but you always come back to the starting point. And, here you are, his baby, and getting married here in my backyard, which I think is so cool. And Will, it's so cool to meet you and introduce you to the area as well. You did make a selection finally. You got the dates taken care of. And once you had you got the venue first, then you got the dates. Is that right?
Yes, pretty much. Working with the resort was great because they could, show you dates available
they're
for
professionals
each venue.
at this.
Yeah, between like the Carolina Hotel and Pinehurst Country Club and getting married on number 2, and you were a big help with making those selections before I'd even seen either. I think you had me on FaceTime, and you met with Madeline, and
yes. And is she back now? She was expecting a baby.
Yeah.
Okay, so she's back, and you've been talking with her.
Yes, weekly.
So you are. Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
So you're here this week to put the finishing touches on some of the decisions that you have to make.
Yes. So that's our next stop after this.
Okay.
We did decide on Pinehurst, the country club, getting married on number 2, and then having our reception in the Outlook Ballroom.
Was quite the easy sell for me, because she first said, well, what about Pinehurst? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That sounds great.
Right.
Well, where in Pinehurst? Well, what about on the tee box of number 2? And I was like, you don't have to do any more convincing. I'm ready to go.
And the your wedding, it's going to be at 6:00.
Correct.
And you're going to get married at the site and at the same site where the reception is. So there will be no traveling from place to place.
No, try to keep it easy and all in
Under
one
the same
centralized
umbrella.
place. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And I think the venue is Storybook. And the cool thing about it is Pinehurst will now be etched in your minds and your memories. It will be a place you will always revisit and perhaps bring your kids to.
Yeah, we have
Someday.
an excuse now to come back a lot, which I'm excited for. Not that we needed more of one, but I will take it.
We were at dinner last night, and Laura, I didn't realize when you were here, your dad was teaching you golf, and you actually took some lessons with Bonnie McGowan and went to school with her daughter, Scotty. And for some reason, I missed that in my brain. But I've known Bonnie since 1979.
Wow.
And we were all so sad. It's been over a year now that she's been gone.
Yeah.
But what were your recollections of her?
She was an incredible woman. She was eclectic and eccentric and fun, an amazing golf teacher, and really took a focus on women's golf. And I had a few lessons with her, and she taught me so much. I still have. I found them recently when we were moving, just pieces of paper.
Is that right?
With her notes all over them from golf lessons. And it's like crazy handwriting. The whole paper is covered, and it just brought back so many memories.
Yeah. She was very special. And the thing about the wedding and the planning and all the things that you're doing, and the memories and the people that you're going to be revisiting right in May. This is not being done for you. This is a lot of work, and this is spread over a long period of time. And we were talking last night, and I poked Laura, and I said, it's okay. It's all going to be fine. Just enjoy the moment. And it's hard to do, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's like a second job, kind of. And when you already have one crazy job and everything else going on in between, it is a lot. But I have heard it's worth it at the end.
Hopefully.
I've known your mom ever since the day she met your dad and got married, and at your christening, and so I know what they're made of, and I know how they support all the girls. And I had the pleasure of meeting your mom, Truett. I haven't met your dad yet. And you met your sister.
Yep.
How would you characterize, and I'll ask you both this question, your parents' support for your efforts? And it isn't just about the wedding. It's a general comment about just them as parents, because it's culminating because of this event. But you've got to have some reflections going way back to the time when you guys were little toddlers.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead, Will, you first.
Always been extremely supportive. I mean, I've bounced around and have had interest in millions of things. So I think there's always a hesitancy to kind of dive in at the beginning, because they want to wait and see, is this going to be a 1 week thing, a few days, or is this going to be something you're actually interested in? And then once they kind of get that feeling that this is something I truly am interested in, or it's a endeavor I want to take on, it's always met with full support. I think they allow for a little buffer to make sure we're not just wasting time, because I can change my mind rather quickly on what I'm interested in. But once a plan's set and it's something that I'm ready to go and tackle, there's always kind of full support from them. So however they can help and want the best. So it's always great, and they've been very, very big obviously part of my life, but have allowed me to do a lot of great things and provided a really great life for me. So,
Well, before I ask Laura the same question, I can tell you that I look back when my mom passed in '07. We officially became orphans. We look back and reflect on our parents. We never were able to recognize how patient they were with us.
yeah.
There are so many things that went unspoken, and there were so many opportunities we had to thank them that we never got to, because you're tussling, you're growing, you're knocking heads on certain things. But we look back and we're so lucky that we had such loving parents.
Yeah.
We never realized what a job it was, how hard it was. Kids get so wrapped up in themselves. Their parents are sort of like planets, and you're like the sun, and they're like planets running around your universe. So with that, Laura, I would love to hear your reflection on your mom and dad and this whole event, what's going on, and just how much appreciation you have for them, because I know you do.
Yeah.
Even though you will tussle with them.
Yes. Lots of strong-willed minds in my family.
Right.
But, at the end of the day, I know I have their support always. Even if we do disagree on something, it's usually for a reason and a valid one. I think, I have two kind of opposing forces with my parents. My mom kind of being my right hand, she'll support anything I want with reason, and my dad kind of being the voice of reason when needed, which when my mom and I get a little carried away, sometimes we do need that.
And it's always like a 2-on-1 fast break, right?
Yeah, yes. But we make it work, and I couldn't do anything that I've done in this life without them.
Yeah. As a layman standing back, I can see how much both your parents support you. But I have a question. Who did you get the eye of the tiger from, mom or dad? Because you have it. I watch you. You will, when you want something, you will fight hard for it.
Yes.
Right? Where'd you get that from?
I really don't know.
Come on. You don't know?
I think it's got to come from both of them a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think they both kind of have it.
And you're both today professionally. You're in the Laura. You manage office properties out of Atlanta, and you are in the commercial real estate business, which requires always being on the balls of your feet, right?
Yes.
I mean, never on your heels.
Yep.
If you're on your heels, you go home.
Right.
So you're in a very demanding profession.
Yes.
And do you compare notes a lot? Because you both have to have that eye of the tiger.
Yeah, I think definitely try to kind of use each other's resources as best as we can, and always trying to kind of learn what's going on, who's doing what in Atlanta, what major kind of events might be taking place, where major companies are kind of shaking things up, where they're moving, where they're staying, and she's lucky enough to be managing some of the better buildings in Atlanta and some really nice trophy assets that is cool to be able to get to see that end, as well as kind of work my end, which is all of Metro Atlanta, but get glimpses into the key markets and kind of the key buildings within those. So
your dad is so proud of you, because he tells me, he brags about your work ethic. He goes, Bill, she's wrapped up. She gets everything done. I know how well thought of you are by your company, but he's so proud of you. But he may not tell you that to your face, but he'll tell me.
Every now and then.
He will?
He says it.
Trust me, he's very proud. He's proud of all his girls.
Yeah.
And I think you guys have a lot to look forward to in the next couple of months. My only wish for you is that you enjoy the process as much as you can, the good and the bad, because you know what? It's all part of the same coin.
Yeah.
And how you react to stuff is a very important benchmark for how you'll deal with anything coming up. I think you both have what it takes. I'm looking forward to seeing you both in a couple of months.
Yeah,
It's right around the corner.
It's flying by.
So we will get some pictures from you. We want to
Yes.
give them to this video, and we'll see you in a couple of months. Will, thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Laura, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
This is All Things Moore County. Have a great week. Thank you.